So one thing I do want to discuss briefly is pretty much just how difficult it is practically to stick to the tiny wins approach, baby steps approach, if you will, to progress, especially when there's a lot of shit that you're behind on or that you need to do. I mean, so for me, for sure, it's evening for me right now, and I have a lot of problems still. I have a lot of things at work that I still am not fully resolved in many areas, right? Prospecting, catching up on customer issues, catching up on emails and stuff like that. There's a lot of social things that I'm just either behind on or just I am bothered by, just in terms of what I've been doing or what I've been experiencing. Um, what am I doing with my personal time? Like, there's so much to do. In my mind, there's so much to do, and there's so much that has not yet been done or that has been left undone, that it quite frankly stresses me out. It feels like too much, and it probably is too much for one person who's trying to improve their life. And so, one thing that I've definitely been discouraged by, you know, even to this day is, well, if I do tiny wins, that's nice, but like, how am I going to get all this other stuff done? There's like thousands of, like, I would need to do thousands upon thousands of tiny steps in order to get through what I'm going through right now, right? And so it's like, okay, wouldn't my isn't my life gonna fall apart if I don't deal with this stuff somehow, right? And so, initially it feels definitely like a paradox to me, where it's like I'm trying to improve myself, but I'm still kind of the person that got myself in all these messes, right? I have all these bad habits that led me to this bad situation. And yes, I'm improving the habits slowly, but there's still this bad situation, right? But then the paradox is that, well, because I have built all these bad habits, it's nearly impossible to get me to stop doing them and to do the difficult thing instead, right? So it's been kind of rough. I think the right answer, and this is me, I guess, speaking to myself primarily, is the right answer seems to be yes, acknowledging that there are all these problems, but then from there, really limiting or narrowing your attention or my attention to 1% improvements that you're willing to do in that moment, right? Not throughout the end of time. Like, you have to narrow it down to the moment that you're in. And that's hard for me, right? Like, I am very bothered by things that I had to do that day that I didn't do, I that things in the past that I should have done but didn't do, and so on and so forth. And then also, afraid of the future and what consequences I might run into because of my lack of getting certain things done. And I think those are all valid. I think those are all worth worrying about. But, you know, there, I'm getting to a point where there's no practical point in worrying about that stuff, because it's just going to stress me out. It's not going to move me forward any more than if I wasn't worried about that, right? And so, um, really taking, I don't know, it's hard for me. Like I said, it's just kind of a mental switch I need to, I guess, practice, but narrowing my focus into the moment, right? Accepting what happened, accepting what might happen in the future, but then just focusing on, okay, is there anything I'm willing to do in this moment to improve my life by a tiny increment, right? And it could be things that are embarrassing, right? It could be things as simple as like cleaning my room. It could be things as simple as just, reorganizing or meditating, or maybe just taking a break, right? At least for me, that's kind of embarrassing, because I had this huge mountain of things to do, and it's like I'm taking a break. Why would that be improvement in any way? But I do think that the moment kind of dictates what needs to be done. I don't know how else to word that. Like, my body will know moment by moment what it needs in that moment, right? So for example, taking a break, usually in my case, is I feel like I decide to take breaks if I'm just physically exhausted, right? And maybe that's just what's needed. And maybe not all the time, right? Because there is still a huge pile of problems. But that's kind of something that I'm trying to either slowly embrace, or I think that's something that I need to start practicing more so, for sure. Um, and then, once I have that focus on making things marginally better in the moment that I'm in, I think the only other thing is somehow finding a way to let go of results for a while. like just letting go of current results, because I do believe that, I do believe that kind of one of the central tenets of the atomic habits approach, which is, you know, your results are a lagging reflection of your habits, right? And your habits are a lagging reflection of your identity, the type of person that you believe you are and that you believe um, will act in certain ways, right? And so I believe that results are the end result, and people are gonna bust your balls about your results for sure, right? They're gonna pressure you into getting better results, but ultimately the process is more important, and the identity ultimately is the most important. So it's like, as long as I'm doing the 1% increments in the moment that I'm in, then just somehow finding a way to shut out that mental noise of worrying about the future. But anyway, this is a bit of a rant, but I do think I needed to make it. Because again, like I said, I'm super stressed out about all this stuff, and but that stress is not moving me forward by any means, right? So hopefully this made sense. I know I was looking around a lot and not making eye contact or whatever. I mean, this is something that's very uncomfortable for me. I probably repeated myself a bunch of times too. But I really appreciate you listening if you did, and just this is something that I gotta practice and refine over time for sure. So hope this is of value to you. Hopefully you're able to learn from it as well and take some things for yourself as well. But other than that, I'm gonna try and do that, do what I just said, and I will see you guys in a few. Take care.